Welcome to the Cartoon Club. My name is Jack, and in this episode I'll be showing you how to draw a modern house in 2-point perspective. Before we get started, if you can like this video and subscribe to my channel, if you can also click the bell icon as well just to stay informed whenever I upload a new video, that would be amazing. With this drawing, it's going to be a continuation on the past few videos I've done, just explaining how to do perspective and also how to shade an object. I'll place the videos in the top corner here or in the description below just so you can watch them before we get started. It just helps to set the groundwork for what the drawing is going to be. So we're going to draw a 2-story modern style building right in the center of this page. I've already set up a line in the back, so this is the horizon line. This is the line that's showing the back of the scene. And the 2 points either end are going to be our 2 vanishing points that we've set up, and that's basically to find out the angles of where the building is as well. This video will be split into chapters, so if you want to check out the different parts of this video, please head down to the description below. That will sort of split up each segment into different parts. And the first part is just going to be drawing this base of the building. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with this lower part here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting to find out where the edge of our building is going to go. So with that, we need to use our ruler to find the edge of where that building is. So I'm marking it up against the side of the page and figuring out somewhere to place that first line. So if I mark it about 8 centimeters away and mark 8 centimeters higher up, and with those 2 marks, I'm going to then join those lines together. What I'll do is I'll continue past those 2 points, because I'm not sure how tall I want that building to be, but at least I've got the guideline of where the edge of it is. And I'll be doing the same thing on the right side as well. So I'll find out some distance away from the edge of the page. What I'll do is I'll go 10 centimeters away from this side and then mark the same again. So 10 centimeters from below that horizon line and 10 centimeters above it. And what I want to do is create a sort of S shape, sort of curving, slithering shape to the front of the building. So I'm going to start lower, work up, across, up and across. So knowing that, I'm going to be working out the height of where I want that building. So what I'll do is I'll figure out how tall roughly. If I go about 7 centimeters tall, so I'll mark the bottom line at 7 and the top line at 0. What I'll do is I'll use that point on the left just to determine where that first line is going to go. So I'm matching up the points to that 0 mark that I've just created, and then I'm just creating a line going all the way across. That's not going to be the entire length of it, but at least I know where the guide is going, where that line is. And to determine where I want the corner of the building to be, this is when I then use that right side. So if I use that right point and then just find an angle that I like the look of and continue that line across, that is now the corner of that building. That's the edge of either side, and that is the corner at the front. So this is the front facade of the building. And what I'll do is, by knowing that, I'll just figure out where that point is compared to the edge of the page, about 17.5. And then if I go downwards, 17.5 again, I'll join that line up together as well. Now that I know the bottom of the building as well, I'll be doing the same thing but below. So center point on the left, finding that line that we marked earlier, that's going to be too deep. So what I'll do is I'll place that shallower as well. So if I place it, so still keep that at 0, but then mark about 5. And with that, we'll just do that same thing, join up from the left. We know the bottom point of the building as well. We'll just use that as the point to work for, and the horizon line again. And we'll match them up and join that together. So this is the whole building. And now, in terms of adding detail, we then have to flesh that building out. So I said I wanted an S curve to the building. So we know that the far edge is going to stay the same. And then we have to determine where that second story is going to be placed inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where I want that halfway mark. To be honest, if I place it exactly halfway, so 2.5, if I use that horizon line and the vanishing point on the left, and then I'll join it up with that point we've just made, And we'll just do the same on the other side using that point and the far right vanishing point. So now the building's been split into 2 levels, and now we know how big each floor is going to be. So from there we just have to add the details as to what we want the building to look like. So if I create a bit of a wall here, so this would be like the first thick part of the column, and then the thickness will continue across here, and then stop somewhere about halfway back towards the edge of the building. So if I figure out how thick I want the wall over here to be, about 1/2 centimetre, then if I move up and do 1/2 centimetre again, and then I'll join that one up to create the far left wall. And then I want to create that same thickness, so if I figure out where 1/2 centimetre is, and then I'll use that vanishing point again as our guide. So we know the perspective is going to carry that 1/2 centimetre to the right distance. And now we know how thick that wall will be if it was over towards the front of the image. So if we determine that, so that's 1.7 centimetres. So if I figure out 1.7 centimetres along this centre line here, and then 1.7 higher up. And now I need to find out how thick this point is, because this thickness will be the same thickness as the wall up at this point. So I know that that is just about 1.5 centimetres. So then I'll do 1.5 centimetres up towards the top here. And then I'll use that point and the vanishing point to find out that top part of the wall. I won't continue all the way across just because I know it's not going to go all the way over, but I will try and figure out where I want it to end. So I'm going to use this line earlier just to determine the distance away from the edge. So if I do 11 centimetres, so 11's marked there, and then I'll move down a little bit and mark 11 away for the bottom part of that wall. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase this line here inside, these lines here, and then these lines over here, just to create that solid shape that we wanted. So there you go, that is that curve that we've set ourselves, and we're going to be building the rest of that house around that curve. So what I'm going to be doing under here is I'm going to be splitting this into 2 shapes. So the shape down here will be a garage towards the right part of the building, and then there will be a door on the left. Up here there will be a massive glass window with a big thick column in the middle there, and then a window, and then just a plain part of the wall there. With this wall down here, I'm going to move this wall back just to show that this top floor is actually moving forward. It's actually moving in front of the floor below to sort of create a bit of overhanging depth to it. So with that, we need to figure out where we want this line down here to be moved to. So if we find out the distance from the edge of the page, you know, that's about 17.5. I want to push it back to 16. So if I mark 16, and I'll mark 16 lower down as well towards the bottom of the building, and I'll join those 2 lines together. And so this will be the actual thickness of the first floor. So now that we know that point at the bottom, we're going to use that vanishing point again to determine that new line on the base of the building. So we mark up that corner and the vanishing point again, and then we're going to be doing the top part as well, just to show that overhang. So I'm going to find that point there and join it up with our vanishing point on the right side this time. What I'm going to do now is find that point there and join it up with the vanishing point to create that overhang that we wanted. We're going to keep all these lines in here just in case you want to add any more detail. But if we move towards that second floor now to determine where the window is going to go, I need to figure out where that column's going to be towards that middle. So it can be any distance away really, but if I can find a nice number to work with. If I go 26.5 from the edge of the page, and then I'll mark that one, and then move my ruler down and do 26.5 lower down. And then I'll just join those 2 lines together. And then this roof is going to be hanging in front of this second floor. There's going to be quite a big roof overhang. So with that, I need to figure out where this roof is disappearing into. So I need to use that point and match it up with that far right vanishing point again. This roof is going to be disappearing behind the building as well. And we want to add a point about here and going across using that left vanishing point just to give that roof a bit of projection forward. I'll go 0.7, then get that left vanishing point and that point we've just marked and match that up. And by removing this line up here, that will be showing our roof. So as you can see, that roof is now disappearing behind the building, but it's also overhanging this second floor here. And we wanted to add a column here, so if I figure out a nice number of thickness for the column, do around 1. And now I'm going to figure out how far this is projected out against that bottom floor. So I'm going to use that little point there and go across to our vanishing point to create this line over here, this little line on the left. And now we know where that point's ending. We're going to have to find out the distance between that point and the edge of the page to work higher up. So it's about 9.5. So if I go up higher at 9.5, and now I'll join those 2 points together, and then I'll erase this bit inside here, this line, and then we're going to be adding in a few more little tiny details. So this is the next stage, this is the detail part of it. So the garage is going to have a front door here, quite a large wide door. There's going to be a thin door for that little door, the front door of the house, and then we're going to be adding in a few more tiny shapes for the windows. All of these things I went through in my 2-point perspective video, so if you want any guidelines on that, any further guidelines, head over to that. I'll also use the horizon line that we've got as a top for the door and the garage door, just to help us simplify the top line. So all we have to now determine is the vertical lines of where the edges of the door is going to go. And now I'm just going to inset these 2 doors as well. So I'm just going to do the same sort of thing we did with this lip at the front of the building, just to make sure that the 2 doors are set back inside the building. And now with those lines marked out, I'm going to use those 2 bottom corner points and the far left vanishing point just to create a line across to show where the base of the door is going to go. So now we've got those 2 cavities for where the doors are going to go. We can then remove parts of the lines just to break it up a bit, and then it helps to clarify where those doors are now. And then this central line we can get rid of, and then these base lines we can get rid of as well. And before we move on to the windows, I'm just going to add some lines across for the garage door, just to split that up and make it a bit more of an interesting shape. So if I draw a line 1 centimeter away from the base, and then keep going up in 1s, and then I can use that far left point to work out the angles of those lines. And with that front door, I'm going to do some vertical lines instead of horizontal. And with this one, I'm going to be doing the line about 0.5 centimeter away from the edge. And now onto the windows. So this window here, I want to have quite a big open facade. So I'm going to work out the thickness of this column going backwards, because the window's see-through, going to be seeing through that column. So I want it about half the thickness of the front part. So if I do 0.5 centimeter, and then I'll join those 2 lines together, and then I'm going to place the window on that line, and then do another half beyond that. So this part in here will be the whole window. So this is the bit of the column that's in front of the window, and this is the bit of the column that's behind it. But because that roof is part of the perspective as well, I'm going to have to do perspective from this point down towards the edge to find out where that column is going. And then I'll just remove this 1 line here, just to show that the column is heading back into something. But I'm keeping this line here because this is the line that's part of the window. Because I've decided to have a column in a 3D part here and move the window back, I now need to bring that line down. So I need to just bring that line down to that point there that I've marked, and then just use my perspective. So it's an easy change. So now we've got a window joined up to the column, and it has set that roof forward as well, so it's made it even longer. So all of that's going to be darkened out and shaded. So we're going to add in a window to this side here. It will be about half the height of this window, because this window's ceiling to floor, whereas this will only be sort of waist to eye height, so it'll be a bit of a more narrow strip. So I'll just add in the marks there. To find out how to do that, if you go to my other video on how to draw 2-point perspective, I'll show you in that video there. Then I'll create another indent like I did with the doors down below. So I'm just going to create an indent on this part with part of a lip for the roof of that window on this top part here. Okay, so that window's done, and then with these lines down below, I'm just going to remove them just to separate that window from the rest of the wall. So as you can see, that's now been set into the building part, so it's inside part of this column of that wall. What I'll do is I'll keep this wall clean, because with the garage, unless we put an object in front of it, there's no real point of having a window there. What I'll do though is I'll put a small tree, more of a cartoon tree behind this probably, and then maybe a little tree on this side just to show there's something behind this building. I just need to add one more tiny line for the lip of this roof. I know it's a small line, it's barely visible, but it just helps to show the projection of this second floor over the first one. So I'm just going to get my ruler and mark to this point here, join it up with my vanishing point, and then join those two lines together. And then with that very narrow point, I'm just going to join that up to this point here. I'm just going to remove some of these main lines, so I'm going to remove all this lineage up here, the line across here, because there's no need to separate this anymore. I'm going to remove this horizon line, get rid of the lines here, and then clear some of this line work here. So there's all the line work removed. Before I go into colouring the building in, one useful little tip: if you're drawing something with an overhang like this building, having the guideline of that bottom line kept is useful in adding a shadow, especially if the sun will be directly above it, because that shadow will just continue straight down onto the floor. So that is the next chapter done. So what I'll do for the final chapter, this will be a time lapse of me just colouring everything in, so I won't be speaking anymore. But while I'm here, if I can say thank you for watching this video, if you can like and subscribe this video and click the bell icon just to stay informed of any future videos, that would be amazing. We've almost reached 100 subscribers, so we're almost there. So if we can just get a few more, that would be brilliant. So yeah, this last chapter will be me colouring it in. So thank you. I will see you next time. Thank you very much.